for the Day of the African Child 2025 is planning and budgeting for children's rights progress since 2010. The day, which is celebrated on June 16th, is a commemoration of the 1976 student uprising in Soweto, South Africa, and the adoption of the African Charter on the Rights and the Welfare of the Child by the African Union. Joining us with more details is a senior social worker, Ms. Miriam Ataleni. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Good morning.
Ms. Miriam, if you can tell us what the importance of this day is?
All right, thank you so much for the question. The Day of the African Child, this is actually the day that serves to commemorate or to embrace the efforts of the African children who have marched in protest. They're actually protesting to be taught in their own languages, and as they're only taught in Afrikaans, for example. So this day also now is a call to all African people to raise awareness about the children's rights, and it also calls for actions from governments, non-governmental organizations to take up actions in promoting the rights of African children.
In your view, what are the most pressing issues facing children today, 15 years after the 2010 review of children's rights implementation began?
Okay, so after 15 years, the 2010 review of the implementation of the children's rights, several critical issues still rise. They're still happening, and as well as the new challenges that have now emerged. So although this had been the progress, or there has been progress in some of the areas, the significant barriers, especially in the full realization of the children's rights, it's still happening. So some of the pressing issues that we have educational disparities. This means some children are still unable to access fair or quality education, or because of their own backgrounds, because of their races and so on. And we also have child labor and exploitation. We still have some of the children that are not able to attend school because they are employed either in households, in shops, or anywhere. And also this leads to them being exploited because when they are employed, they are not benefiting from what they are doing, or they are not receiving actually their pay. It's given to other people, and in this way they are being exploited. And there's also now health and nutrition. As much as there are some developments that have been happening, we still have some children who are really malnourished, and these cases of malnourishment had been increasing rapidly, just to mention some of the progresses. All right.
What specific progress has your ministry made in planning and budgeting for children's rights since 2010?
All right. Since 2010, there had been few progress that had been happening within the ministry, of which, just to mention some, there had been an increased budget allocation for children services or service programs, which we can say now since 2010, we have all heard, or we have all been reading, that there has been a gradual increase in the allocation of public funds, especially towards the children's services, such as the children's grants that we have. It had been called the vulnerable grants, and also disability grants for children who with disabilities or with special needs, and also in some services like education, social protection, as well as child protection. And there had also been progress in things like the child protection policies and legal frameworks. There had been new policies being implemented in order to make sure that the children's rights and their well-beings are protected. And there has also been capacity building and trainings for stakeholders, where we had been training stakeholders such as police officers, social workers from other ministries, and all other officials that actually need to put in hands or work in relation with children's rights or children's issues in the country. And also, there had been a focus on vulnerable groups of children, for example, children with disabilities, as they had been, or there had been an allocation on the budget of this type of children to say as much as they are living with disabilities, they shouldn't be excluded either in attending schools or reaching out to any other services that they may need. Thank you.
How have national budgets evolved to prioritize sectors like education, health, protection, and child welfare?
All right. As we know, education is one of the fundamental rights of every child in Namibia or every child in the African continent. There are actually policies and legislations that mandate all parents to send their children to school. As we know, education is now free and it's accessible. So these policies are made to, or they are put up to oblige and mandate parents to send all their children to school despite the distance, despite their background, because every child in Namibia needs to be educated. And coming to health, we also have different health facilities within the country, such as the health centers, we have clinics, we have outreaches points, we have hospitals, and all other services that provide health or the much needed health to all children in the country.
How does your ministry address the needs of vulnerable children, such as those in rural areas with disabilities or in conflict zones?
All right, the ministry had actually been doing or putting in effort in reaching out to children in either rural areas and all over the places, just to make sure that they are not excluded and they are not discriminated. We have what we call the vulnerable grant within the ministry. This is a grant that helps or assists parents in assisting parents that are unable to meet ends for all their children. The government stepped in, or the ministry stepped in to actually budget or include these parents in order for them to receive the grants on behalf of the vulnerable children, just in order to make sure that they cater for their basic needs. And it's not just the vulnerable children. We also have children with disabilities or special needs. And we also have a directorate within the ministry, which we call the Disability Affairs. This directorate actually aims on or at catering for the needs of disabled children or children with special needs, either by providing the much needed needs or basic needs that, such as cosmetics, and some are registered on the grants and all that.
What message do you have for the African children as we commemorate the Day of the African Child this year?
Okay, to all the African children, this is a special day where we celebrate you. So my message to you is just to say you are the heart and the future of this continent, actually. So, and in the face of all the challenges that you are encountering, please continue to rise, continue to learn, continue to grow and to dream big. Your resilience and unwavering spirit remind us that the future of Africa is in good hands. So remember that every African child has a right to education, they have a right to protection, they have a right to be loved, and so many more rights. So may you always stay strong and keep dreaming and know that the African people believe in you. May this day be also a remembrance to say that we acknowledge you, we recognize you, we believe in you, and we would like to wish you all the best in all the life challenges that you may encounter. So happy Day of the African Child, African children.
Thank you so much, Ms. Miriam, for joining us today, and thank you so much for what you have given us. That was Ms. Miriam Ataleni, a senior social worker from the Ministry of Gender, Equality and Child Welfare.